What's going on, everybody? It's Steven, aka the Economistic, back with another video for your Friday today. Gonna try to make this one pretty quick, but also I want to take my time because I realize that sometimes when I try to speed through things, I kind of forget some points that I wanted to mention. But we're going to get right into it. Today's episode is going to be really just an overview of what's going on in the markets, as well as some news in Multiverse X. It's going to be kind of a common theme that these videos kind of wait to build up for the market to have some movement, as well as for the news pipeline to have some items in it. So last video was almost a week ago. So go check that out if you have not. But I want to go ahead and get moving on this video so that we can all move on with our Fridays. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you do like these videos, leave a comment either on YouTube or on Twitter. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you might like to see. Yeah, I'm really here just to serve the community as always, and happy to have conversation and provide different perspectives. So let's get into it. I've got my stopwatch started so the time doesn't get too crazy today. Without further ado, let's just start this video off with some basically just some EGLD news. So Multiverse X is the new name for Elrond Network. I'm probably going to say that in every video that I make, just to reiterate, make sure that everybody knows that we're on the same page. So some headlines in the Multiverse X ecosystem, as you can see on the screen in front of you. Hopefully you were able to attend the town hall that was the live discussion, or no, I'm sorry, it was not the town hall. It was a live Twitter space that Sabi of Breaking Free YouTube hosted on the Morningstar Ventures podcast. I went ahead and made a recap of some of the top things that were kind of discussed in the live space. And I was also able to get a chance to talk and ask a question at the very end, which was funny. I didn't really think about what I was going to say, and I wish I would have asked a different question. Nonetheless, check out the recap that I made, as well as you can listen back to the live space as well. Thank you again to each of you, Sabi and Benjamin, for your time. Um, Moving on there, I just wanted to recap some interesting developments that I made a post about here. The Multiverse X Twitter account, as well as all of the Twitter, or rather all of the team members on Twitter, now have these cool little Multiverse X badges. And now, of course, the verified business badge is valid on Multiverse X main account. Um, so this is just good to see. It's great to see the rebrand continuing to take shape, and the brand really getting a little bit more polished from top to bottom. And also too, it's always really great whenever you have some indication of team members that prevents people from doing anything fraudulent, imitating people. And it also it just looks professional. So up on the pipeline, I think I mentioned this in the last video, Multiverse X will be at Consensus 2023, which is a huge cryptocurrency conference, annual, and this time it's happening in Austin, Texas. So I'm still trying to make it out to see the team in person. Really hope that that can happen, but stay tuned and I'll let you know what's going on there. Um, Sorry, excuse me. Also, I have some allergies and my nose is stuffed, and just working through it. Yeah, so Austin, Texas. But before that, this past week, and I think actually presently, the Multiverse X team, we got two individuals in Hong Kong that are taking the time to share about Multiverse X with that crowd, which kind of leads me to another point that fits into the news of Multiverse X, which is that Hong Kong conference that's going on. X Portal, or I don't know why I said X Portal. Multiverse X announced this morning that they are joining the Web3 Global Acceleration Program. So I want to do some more reading into that and get an idea of what exactly this could mean for Multiverse X. Of course, always exciting to see you know, coming out of, I assume HK stands for Hong Kong. So I'm not sure if this came out of Multiverse X being present in Hong Kong, or if this was the reason that they went to Hong Kong. Nonetheless, it's just great, as always, to see Multiverse X developing more relationships within the ecosystem and getting in places where they can be seen. Um, so beyond that, while we're on the Multiverse X Twitter page, Hatem protocol is making some really steady moves. Their liquid staking is now live on the DevNet, um, and this is really exciting. Another thing that I really need to dive into, if you tune into my podcast that I have with my buddy Alec called the Multiverse Experience, I will be making a video on Hatem. Rather, I will be including Hatem in a conversation because it's really bringing DeFi to Multiverse X. So if you've been, consuming my content for a little bit, then you might know that DeFi to me is really just decentralized finance, which is to me as simple as Bitcoin. Since the point of Bitcoin, as we talked about in the last video, we looked at the abstract of the Bitcoin white paper and realized, if you hadn't already, that basically the fundamental value of Bitcoin is the ability to send funds peer to peer without a financial intermediary. So that's the fundamental value of Bitcoin. It goes further than that, especially when you bring into the conversation Multiverse X and the advancements they've brought to blockchain, as well as the user experience. There's a lot to be said beyond what the Bitcoin abstract encapsulates. So yeah, to me, DeFi begins with Bitcoin since it is decentralized as Bitcoin is, and then it's finance, it's saving, it's sending, and so forth. But of course, Multiverse X has its own decentralized exchange, but Hatem Protocol is bringing liquid staking and lots of different use cases to the EGLD token, EGLD coin, that is. Um, so I believe that it's more or less confirmed that the next X Launchpad project will be Hatem, but we of course are waiting for that to be confirmed. We're still waiting for the actual release of X Launchpad, which, if you're in the Multiverse X ecosystem, then you know. But for those of you who may not know, X Launchpad is basically the platform that all top tier projects on Multiverse X get their start on Multiverse X. There's a price discovery process, so that nobody ends up buying huge pump and dumps whenever it lists on xExchange. But before that process, there's actually a lottery system where, based on the amount of EGLD you have staked, you randomly get drawn, and a lot of lottery winners will actually be some of the first people to earn some of those new tokens for the specific Launchpad project. So implications are that that is pretty profitable. And yeah, so Hatem is going to be really powerful, combined with Ash Swap, which has recently dropped stable swaps on Multiverse X blockchain. So definitely a lot going on, as per usual, but more stuff really kind of looking forward to in the future, rather than being excited about what we have right this very moment. After all, like I said, Hatem is on DevNet for now. So beyond that, xMEX has evolved in a way. So there has been a lot of discussion for years now about the MEX token, dating back to October of 2021. The team claimed that locked MEX, not MEX, but locked MEX, would be the first class citizen of MyRxchange. So as we've seen, LockedMex is now xMEX, and MyRxchange is now xExchange. And we'll get into it at the end of this video. I want to talk a little bit more about MEX, but for all of you people who are here just to see market updates and EGLD news, I want to address you first, since MEX is definitely a more subjective conversation that maybe not everybody will like to hear or agree with me what I have to say, but I'm used to that, having opinions that people disagree with, and I'm a-okay with that. Beginning tomorrow, this is in the past now, so smart contracts on Multiverse X can now hold xMEX energy. So why is this relevant? Why is this even news? So whenever they switched locked MEX to xMEX, you know, this is the whole DEX 2.0 economics model upgrade. They basically made locked MEX, which I'm just going to call it xMEX since that's what it is. They made xMEX non-transferable. So xMEX is bound to a user's account, and that really just prevents people from trading the token before its unlocked schedule on a third-party exchange, which we saw a lot of that over the past year before they changed this. So xMEX is not transferable. There are a few smart contracts that are whitelisted within xMEX Energy's contract. But now the xMEX is able to be added to smart contracts. So this unlocks, as you can see here, two capabilities: the Energy DAO as well as the Auto Compound. I actually stumbled on some of these topics back in March, and one of the team members, Robert Sasu, was nice enough to engage and give me some information about some things that I was digging into. So this is where I first heard about this Energy DAO, as well as following this GitHub link. You can learn more about basically the ability for xMEX Energy being on smart contracts. I summarized it here. Basically, you can create smart contracts that will allow users to deposit their farm and metastaking positions, which means all users can can enjoy benefits of the platform without the need for weekly interactions. Since basically, in order to maximize your position on xExchange, you want to compound. You want to compound as much as possible. And again, for those who don't know what compounding is, you have a base amount of money, amount of capital that's earning you interest. So it's kind of earning interest on top of that lump sum. So what compounding is you're taking that interest amount, the amount of money that you're making on your capital, and you're reinvesting it. So let's say you earn 10% on EGLD staking. After a couple, weeks or months, you have some EGLD built up on your staking. You claim the rewards, and then you restake those. So compounding is a very powerful concept in the world of investing. And in short, as I mentioned, the update to xMEX being on smart contracts means that this can be an automated process, which will increase people's rewards that they're deriving from their position on xMEX, while preventing, or rather, it doesn't mean that it means that you don't have to go on xExchange all too often anymore to manually compound. This adds some pretty interesting dynamics to the possibilities for xMEX Energy. So the elephant in the room has to do with the price chart of xMEX, and pretty much just the promise of first class citizen. Um, there's a lot to be said about first class citizen, and about the utility or use case of MEX. But please just read through this thread that I made, because I kind of talk about some of the issues that MEX has. And I do debunk it. It's like, I am a proponent of MultiversX. I'm here basically on Twitter to share about, and really just to be a bit of an ambassador for the team in this time, to increase community and involvement, education, and so forth. So demand is missing from the MEX equation, from a standpoint of there's no one reason that anybody needs the MEX token, right? Because MEX provides these passive income opportunities through meta bonding and through deriving revenue from xExchange, but you don't need MEX to do anything. MEX also boosts people's farming and metastaking farms on xExchange. But again, you can do those things without MEX. Like, you don't know, with all due respect, nobody needs MEX for any reason. And I think that needs to change. I don't know if I think it needs to change. I would like to see it change, because I have invested in MEX, but altogether, just like, well, I mean, like, that would be just cool to have more use case for the MEX token. It's not so much, oh, I hope they add this value so that it makes MEX more valuable. It's like, well, yeah, MEX will become more valuable because it has more use case. And it's in fact the use case, which is what I'm really hoping for. Um, there's a lot of opportunities for xExchange to grow and expand. So we're really looking forward to MEX really just growing into this first class citizenship, which I could be wrong, but I don't think the team has really used that terminology so much anymore. There's a chance that they said something about it at X Day in November. But I think that the team has moved away from the idea of this first class citizenship. And I still think it's a bit disappointing that the team use that verbiage in the first place, to claim that somebody or something is a first class citizen. I think that that creates a very high expectation in people's heads. So it's kind of like this concept, like this idea that in the present moment, I'm both as old as I will ever be and as young as I will ever be. So in an interesting way, MEX is the first class citizen of the DEX, but there's not really, it's not really there's nothing competing against it. So it's like MEX is both the first class citizen of the DEX, and it's also like kind of like the worst class citizen of the DEX. And that really just depends on, and it's affected by the price action of the MEX token over the past year. It's been pretty brutal. And for people like me who have been through, now this is my third bear market, it's like, I don't know. I mean, the truth is that you just get loose, you get used to losing money. It sounds really stupid. It really does. It sounds crazy. And it's not like you're always losing money, but if you've been watching my content, then you know that I encourage people to dollar cost average, to buy and hold, not to trade. Um, so that's what I've done. So whenever you do buy and hold, whenever you do dollar cost average, yes, you'll have periods of time that your position is losing, but you'll also have times that your position is very much winning. And to me, that's well worth the ebbs and the flows. But the truth is, the fact is that the MEX token has fallen a great deal in value. If you were providing liquidity for it on xExchange, the impermanent loss that you've faced is pretty harsh. Um, so I don't know. I say to buy and hold, but I was able to help my case about a year ago, or over a year ago. I was actually selling my locked MEX for EGLD, because I saw that the team was not moving very quickly on this idea of let's upgrade MEX, let's give it this first class citizenship idea. Um, so I sold off my locked MEX on those third party exchanges I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And then I eventually bought back. I bought back all of the locked MEX that I ever sold away, plus a little bit more. And so while I probably bought back a little bit too much of that locked MEX back before they made it non-transferable, I think that it's really important that people develop their own hypotheses, use cases, and value propositions for each of these tokens. Um, because specifically one of the reasons that I really value xMEX is because I see how it captures value from a lot of different places in the ecosystem. It boosts my meta bond, or I'm sorry, it boosts my my farming and meta staking on xExchange. And as this post kind of writes about here, if you prefer reading, check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. Um, but basically, the bigger your liquidity position is, probably the more value you're going to attribute to your xMEX. So xMEX also gives a weekly distribution called meta bonding of 9 different projects within the MultiversX ecosystem, which is basically just an automatic portfolio diversification mechanism, which is valuable to me. um, but altogether, I mean, if you think about what xMEX is, xMEX was the reward for people bootstrapping the exchange. So even though the trades that I made buying buying locked MEX with EGLD back in November, even though in hindsight I could have made better trades after these unlocks, I think the takeaway is that by obtaining a position in xMEX. Basically, I mean, I've used my money to its fullest potential, in that it basically rewound the clock and gave me a derivative of how much e-gold I really supplied the DEX in the first place. So I won't get into that because I think it's better kept there. But that's how I see it. I was able to buy locked MEX at a discount at the time, and was able to effectively increase the effective eagle that I could have been supplying the DEX with. So I kind of got into xMEX there when I didn't really mean to. So we'll keep on kind of going through the MultiversX Twitter page, see if there's any other news items that I missed. Um, New ecosystem map has been released, and we're excited as always to see new projects come out and add value to the blockchain. Mm. Excuse me. Alrighty, so just before we get into going over the Bitcoin market, excuse me again, kind of struggling here with sinuses and stuff, so bear with me. um so just to make sure I did not miss anything, I just want to go over here to the blog and make sure that there weren't any huge news items that would be relevant for today's show. 10-cent cloud, you know, we've been through that. New MultiversX wallet, all these new things. The roadmap we talked about in the last video. Yeah, pretty much it seems like I kind of covered everything. There's not anything major that's really been coming out quite yet. So we'll wait to see for the next video what we've got. So we are at 20 minutes. Thank you again for watching. We're going to go ahead and get into Bitcoin analysis, which again, I want to do this fast because yeah, I want to make these videos shorter. I think that's the goal. So altogether, I just want to bring up a few different charts. And in the last video, I brought up the Bollinger Bands, and I showed you how on the 2 weeks, and I'll show you again right now why I'm pretty excited. I mean, I'm kind of a perma bull, as we've mentioned, as I've mentioned in the past. So I'm pretty much always excited. You can probably just rest assured knowing that I'm always excited. Um, but here's why I say that is because in the last video I mentioned that these Bollinger Bands, whenever volatility decreases over periods of time, it gives these Bollinger Bands time to pinch. So the way these Bollinger Bands have come here, you know, you can see that this is what is meant by these pinching. Those aren't very good arrows. But yeah, so basically this means that price has been trading at a narrow enough range for the Bollinger Bands to kind of come in and better define where that is. So naturally, these also indicate when volatility is low, and historically, whenever these Bollinger Bands pinch, they will expand into volatility. So I think it's really interesting that these Bollinger Bands didn't officially pinch until the last weeks of February. And that was at a time where it was already a great deal percentage off the bottom, which was about 25K. And when I say 25K, I mean to say 15.5K. So from about 15, we'll just go from 16,000 to where we are now, which is over 100%, or almost 100%. But by the time the Bollinger Bands pinch, we are already 40% up. So I think that it's really evident that the bull market is starting to really make itself known. In the last video, I don't believe that we had any resolution from this period of consolidation here. So I think that it's more or less confirmed that this is a sideways channel. It could even be said that it was perhaps rising, but it's really water under the bridge at this point, because at this point price is starting to move upwards, up and out of this consolidation range, which, just rewinding again, This drawdown here was when USDC depegged, whenever banks in the United States were insolvent, the Silicon Valley Bank, and then price quickly rallied, put in a higher high than where it was at previously. So the fact that we consolidated for almost 2 weeks here, it was very boring, but now we're starting to move up and out of it. As you can see, these Bollinger Bands again pinched at the end of that move. And then when it comes to the average volume itself, you can see if I hide these events down here, you can see that volume is now starting to poke above the average volume, which is always a positive indication. You kind of look at volume to gain confidence at whether the move could be kind of validated or not. And you can see here that we had a pretty decisive increase in buy volume at this candle, which was on the 10th, 4 days ago, and price continues to kind of chug on upwards, but we haven't really seen anything, no daggers of any sort that really kind of basically in previous videos I mentioned that in bear markets the buyers are the ones that basically get punished, but in bull markets it's the sellers that get punished. So with that being said, I mean, what I could see is kind of something almost similar to this big washout that we got here, because again, if we are in a bull market, then the sellers get punished. And what happened? Maybe you bought up here, maybe you FOMO'd in here, and then you sold down here after it dipped because you thought that the lows were going to be retested. So maybe you sold here only for price to come up and print a higher high. So again, perhaps then again, if you FOMO'd in after you sold, and then, oh my gosh, I can't believe I bought into it just whenever I thought things were going good, and then you get washed out yet again. Let's say you sell here because you're like, okay, I messed up buying here, or rather I messed up buying here, and now I'm going to sell here because now for a fact it's going to go down and retest. So you sell just for it to get up and start to make again higher highs. This is now the third series of higher highs that we've made. So with this pattern, the idea of this pattern in mind, I think that even though I want price to just moon, I think that my expectation that I want to create for all of you out there, just to get an idea of where we're going. I mean, the sellers need to be punished. So I feel like we need to come down and retest some of these levels. We might do it before we get any further price movement upwards, and that would be great. I think that I am more inclined to believe that we'll get some positive price movement, and then a larger series, a larger period of time where price is retracing. Do I expect price to retrace to these levels right now? After what I said about the Bitcoin Bollinger Bands tightening, and also too, I want to point out at the bottom here how clean the momentum has shifted from red in that bear market to green, and then this is the 2 week time frame again. So this means that these are long time frame candles. The larger the candle is, the larger the range date of data it is able to take into effect. So larger candles are on a longer time frame. 2 weeks are I would say that a longer time frame can begin with maybe 12-hour or even one 24-hour candle, but 2 weeks here is definitely pretty sizable. So to see bullish momentum not even really getting beyond itself, like in previous bull runs, this MACD can really get stretched. But right now, I mean, I think that Bitcoin is effectively growing as healthy, as healthfully, I think is the word, as healthfully as possible, as it possibly could right now. So as we move on here, just reminding everybody of what Bitcoin has done in the past, rewinding to the bottom of the bear market in 2017, 2018. This low here, the sentiment, the mentality here was very low because we just got this, multi-month sell-off after basically a year of trading up and down, hoping that we can start to build a base and move higher. Instead, the price moved down. Sentiment was very bad. It was very slow. It was very boring here for these multiple weeks, even months. And then just whenever people thought that the price was going to capitulate even farther down, that's when it reversed and made this huge run in June up to $13,000. So it's moves like that that really convinced me not to play the trading game, because I was partially out of position whenever this happened. So I did end up buying more on the way up, and then, as I said, you wait to buy whenever price is low because you think price is going to go lower, and then it doesn't do what you think it is, and then you start buying into strength, which is down. The fundamental um, principles, fundamental values, rules of trading are to sell into strength and to buy into weakness. It's very important to follow those rules, because I think that if you can kind of confirm that you're buying into weakness and selling into strength, even though it might feel wrong, it feels wrong to buy dips, and it honestly it feels wrong to sell pumps. Like whenever the price shoots up, you're like, why in the world would I sell now? The price is going to go higher. Like it's literally going higher as we speak. Like why would I sell? So just hear it from me, and I hope that you can acknowledge that in yourself, that the best position you can be in is to buy into weakness and sell into strength. Yet it feels proper, it feels correct to do the opposite. I've been there so many times before. I'm sure that you have too. And let's talk about it. Let's normalize this conversation, because it's so strange how doing the right thing feels mentally wrong. um and that, I mean, that goes into why I've been able to make a sizable profit off of eGold and Bitcoin. And then and that's why I'm so bullish on MEX, is because historically speaking, for me, I bought Bitcoin when people said that it was worthless, exit scam, all this junk. I bought Bitcoin whenever people said thumbs down, and that worked out very well for me. I bought eGold when nobody knew about it, nobody cared about it. Altcoins were pointless. It's I mean, that was kind of encapsulated in the same sort of negative sentiment as just cryptocurrency. So I'm a perma bull. I think that MultiversX is going to have a very promising future. I think that xExchange is as well. And that's just very difficult to see whenever we're in a bear market. I want to get into the Bitcoin dominance chart, because that's going to again kind of give us an idea of if we're looking anywhere close to an altcoin season. Because kind of my hypothesis is that whenever we get an alt season, it may take some time, because again, eGold is, it's kind of chugging along. We see some other coins starting to move, and eGold and MEX not really exploding too much. I think that brings up a point of how impatience at the end of a bear market can be the beginning of the end for most traders. Basically what I mean by that is, I mean, think about these concepts that I've just laid out to you. The idea of thinking that you know where the market's going to go, making actions based on what you think, the market doing the opposite of what you expected, and then you basically having to chase after the move that you should have made. um I kind of got lost in thought there. But I when we look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, you'll see that the Bitcoin dominance is basically at a level that it's been at. About 50% of market share for the whole cryptocurrency market is in Bitcoin. So for an alt season, we like to see for that dominance to be trending downwards. Um, but here's the deal, is that, like, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Impatience at the end of a bear market can be the beginning of the end for most traders. Going back to the concepts of the idea, you know where the market's going to go, you think you do, and then it does the opposite. uh when it comes to eagled, being around the $40 mark and the price isn't moving and you don't feel like there's enough being done by the team, and you see other chains starting to move, or you just feel better about it, I feel like just how trading goes is that some people will leave eagled, some people will sell all of their eagled and maybe sell out of the entire X exchange position and just move completely away because they don't think that there's any promise. um, so perhaps some of those people got into MultiversX whenever the Meyer exchange launched, and part of them leaving the ecosystem means that they're selling, means that they're realizing losses. So it's not, it's futile to say, oh, you don't have any losses whenever you don't sell. Okay, you have unrealized losses, and there's something to be said about that. Unrealized loss still means that you've lost, but when you realize it, that's whenever you actually realize it. um, so I think that people are getting impatient at the end of the bear market, and that brings up a conversation about eagle versus Bitcoin. The chart, whenever you see Bitcoin start to rise in value, but the Bitcoin and eagle chart is like going down lower. It's like, what the heck? Like, why? How come eagle keeps going down? And simply put, that's because people see more opportunity as an investment at that point than eagled. Whenever Bitcoin is growing and they're holding eagled, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm holding eagled, but Bitcoin is growing, so they sell off their eagled into Bitcoin, and to try to capitalize on the gains of Bitcoin, and that is what leads the Bitcoin and eagled versus Bitcoin chart to go down. So basically, in an alt season, we want to see the eagled Bitcoin chart to go up. In case I need to reiterate that, and that's what we're really looking for. So I'll quickly just go into Bitcoin dominance, go into eagled a little bit, and honestly, my voice is feeling pretty low, so I think I'll end the video kind of quickly, shortly thereafter, because yeah, I mean, at this point, um too long didn't read equals, we're still freaking waiting for Bitcoin to just just give us a firm slap and let us know what in the world the market is doing. um and how I just pointed how at the beginning of the last bull run, Bitcoin went from like $3,000 to $13,000 very quickly. And that's what I want to try to position myself. I'm working my hardest to maintain my position, just like MultiversX has claimed that they are positioning themselves to onboard the next billion. So will I position myself to expose myself to a portion of those gains through my portfolio and through the value accrual mechanisms built within the ecosystem, like xMEX energy. um Basically, like, it's just the idea of exposing yourself to it and being on the ship in the event that the tide rises. So bringing it over here, this is the Bitcoin dominance chart. And as I've mentioned in the last video, and I'll mention again here, I'm going to put this on a larger time frame just to average out the data. Yeah, at basically below this 50% market dominance, Bitcoin is kind of losing its share. Over the past, as we saw that breakout from that sideways trading zone that we've been in, and that gave us a nice little peak here. People are selling off their altcoins and so forth, because they want to expose themselves to the gains of Bitcoin. But over the past couple hours, that it's cooled off a little bit, the move, and we're kind of waiting to see. Let's just go over there really quickly, and remind ourselves what exactly Bitcoin is doing right this moment. So I think that Bitcoin, just to finish up this conversation, sideways channel needs to be retested. We got a nice move here. Now there is a chance that this is just very bullish, and what I'm, fingers crossed, hoping for is that, this entire run, all of this is bullish, even though this took us down heavily. As I said, the sellers get punished. The highs are higher than they ever were, and that's just the cycle of rinse and repeat. So with considering the MACD showing us that bullish strength, with the pinch on the 2-week Bollinger Bands, I think that, and most importantly, the past 500 days of bear market, that condenses the entire market like a spring. And as those prices have been going down, certain people have been leaving, have been exiting, have been selling, have been saying, I'm out of here, screw this. But people have been accumulating. But most importantly, the tech is only getting better. So this is one of those kind of mental indicators and divergences that I pay attention to, that I paid attention to in 2017 whenever I discovered the value of Bitcoin. And I was like, whoa, what the heck? Like, there's an actual real need and value proposition for Bitcoin, for being able to send money peer to peer without a fucking bank, taking their cut and taking all the time in the world and then mismanaging funds, becoming insolvent, XYZ. I'm a big fan of banks, if you can't tell. Um, yeah, so again, I got a little bit off target here. Yeah, basically the market is compressing. People are accumulating, people who are not interested are leaving, and that's going to leave our foundation. The foundation is beautiful. The foundation is where people are rock solid. The people who own those assets are like, I ain't selling for shit, bro. Like, I love the foundation. And in a weird sort of way, like, that's why I get stoked about xMEX too, because it's like so many people are like, oh, MEX sucks, like MEX is garbage. It's just like, oh my gosh, like, at the bottom of the bear market, it's almost like the tokens that people talk the most shit on or see the least amount of value in my opinion, are some of the more valuable coins. I mean, and why is xMEX valuable to me is because who designed it? MultiversX, the same team that built the DEX, the same team that built Layer 1 EGLD, the same team that's done everything. It's like, to me, I can understand why some people are not exposing themselves to MEX. Looking at the chart, it's pretty clear that the price is going down. But the idea and what bothers me is whenever people say, "Oh, Steven, I hope that you're right about MEX," but it's like, what do you mean? I have made zero claims about MEX price predictions. I am 100% right about MEX because all that I really share about MEX is its objective fundamental value. And it's not a matter of like, I'm right about an opinion and dig me because I'm right and you're wrong. It's like, no, I spend my time learning about uh, xExchange and the tokenomics, and I share about it. Like, my posts don't discuss about and then going back to this one that I made about xMEX, like, my posts are not uh xMEX is going to be adopted and it is valuable to everybody, and the XYZ. It's like, no, I mean, like, the inflation, especially from year one, means that MEX is going to continue to go down and for a little bit of time, subject to the bear market going away and bull market sentiment coming back. But really, I'm just trying to build the case that xMEX energy is, and I believe that's the wrong thread. I'm just trying to build the case that there is promise for xMEX in the future, as this tweet says here. There are 4 different ways that xMEX. This video is so unorganized. I do apologize. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to do like chapters on this video because it's just so all over the place. But please drop a like. Let me know if you're into these videos, because it's all over the place. But I think that's the nature of how I talk and how I think. Which also, is represented on my Twitter. Whenever I act emotionally, whenever I act this way or that way, it's like, yo, like, that's because I'm an excited person, and that's because I'm passionate, and I'm not afraid to fight. Like, I'm the youngest brother, and I've been picked on my whole life. So it's like, bitch, like, I'm ready to fight. Like, it's not because I like to fight. It's because, like, I have ideas and I act on them. So yes, there's going to be some bias naturally that comes across, but I mean, I'm preaching to myself. I'm sharing what I have discovered, the hypotheses that I've developed, and I share them. And it's those reasons that led me to make the decisions like to buy xmex. It's like, one thing leads to the other, and it's all the same package. So yeah, just reminding you all through this thread that is MEX a wise investment decision right now? I don't know. All I know is that I find value from it. I derive value from it. So there's, that element. And then there's the opportunity of where it's going to grow. Once locked MEX unlocks are much less, once those go away, I think that's going to be just a great position for all of us. Um, but right now, like, these are really just growing pains. Like, xExchange needed to bootstrap in order to uh, be the backbone of X Money, which is coming, and then the X Portal app. Like, xExchange and decentralized swaps, it's like it's pivotal for the MultiversX brand. And in this thread, I talk about basically how, through that idea, we all really need the MEX token. Yes, there are high emissions, and people are not holding xmex because of the price going down, but it just depends how you see it. So I want to just end this conversation that's about MEX with the idea of DEX leagues have not been built out yet. We have our DEX leagues, but they don't, as it says here, each offering you new benefits. So all xMEX owners have the same benefits. It's just going to be variable based on how much energy and how much LP you have on xExchange. So I hope that I am correct on this, because the Tesla is one of them, but the Dex leagues here are an opportunity for xMEX to have more value. It's like each of these tiers is supposed to offer you a new benefit. So well, we don't have that yet, do we? Let me know in the comments. On top of this, we can see that xMEX will be allowed, I guess, for the LP of future MEX pools, which, if you think about it, like, this could not happen without the recent update, which is the xExchange, or rather xMEX energy being able to add it to contracts. So perhaps this idea of LP of other future MEX pools, that can officially happen now that we have energy being allowed to add to smart contracts. And then X Launchpad eligibility based on energy. So eligibility, to me, is kind of black or white. So I'm very curious: will XPad X Launchpad eligibility? Will that be your odds of winning a lottery ticket? Will that be basically bolstered by how much xMEX energy you have? But it says eligibility. Um, I like to do eligibility. So the state of having the right to do or obtain something through satisfaction of the appropriate conditions. That's what the definition of eligibility is. Um, so that's kind of a big question for me, because we all know that the X Launchpad is it can be profitable if you win one of those tickets, and we all have seen that in the past, because it's based on EGLD being staked. The amount of EGLD, or rather the price of EGLD, starts to grow because people want to increase their EGLD stake so that they can increase their chances, their odds of winning one of these tickets. So xMEX is going to be involved in that. And the big question is, to what degree, to what extent? Is it going to be a black and white thing, aka must be this tall to pass? You have to have this much xMEX energy in order to be eligible for X Launchpad, is one idea. Or a lesser, I guess, a lesser element is just the idea of, oh no, like, you can, Eagle will continue to be the main pillar of X Launchpad, but if you do have xMEX energy, then that will increase your chances. So I think no matter what, that will add use case, and that will add demand for the MEX token. I think that will provide opportunities to trade the MEX token. Um, but again, I don't really advise trading because whenever you think that the market's going to do something and then it does something else, and then you're chasing after a trade that you should have made or trying to earn back tokens or dollar amounts that you feel like you lost, I just don't really advise trading. You can make good trades, and don't get me wrong, gambles can really pay off in a big sort of way, but it just increases your risk. So that's why I'm kind of like a thumbs down to that. And then finally, lastly, paying with MEX. This is a very big one that I hope is expanded upon, because who cares if you can pay with MEX? Like, everybody can pay with anything. Like, this is not a special utility of MEX. Like, that's the core fundamental value of Bitcoin. Like, this does not expand and add any value to the MEX token. Like, they're acting as though MEX is it's a feature that you can pay with MEX, but it's like, yo, like, that's not new. Like, that's kind of the fundamental value of cryptocurrency. So this is an opportunity for the team to do something about. As it says, it can be used for payments in the X Portal, X Spotlight, NFT marketplaces. But as I've highlighted here, it does specify the X Money platform. So what will this mean? Is X Money going to bring in some demand for MEX? What about the cards? We see these debit card icons here. We know that X Money is playing an integral role with TwistPay in bringing the debit cards to the world. So the big question is, there's just like this thought of mine. It's like, is the team just going to let MEX be its own thing and they're just going to trust it to be a community kind of oriented, community driven coin? Um, or are they actually going to do things to really bolster it and add value to it in these ways that I've highlighted here? And this is extra stuff because there are still basic things, which I'll go ahead and bring up now, just because we're already so disorganized on this video. Might as well just keep it going. Consistency is key. um, and yeah, I clicked on the wrong one. Dang it, let me just go back, because I want to just emphasize that I acknowledge that xExchange has a lot of room for growth. I've called some of those things out in my posts, in this very thread that I made here. Um, but let's see if I can figure it out here. Just in terms of some of the basic things, just like lending and borrowing is a huge thing. But yeah, okay, so now that I remind myself, it's like, yeah, come on, guys. Like, I know that xExchange is lacking. Like, we don't have Ethereum on xExchange. We don't have Bitcoin on xExchange. We don't have more X pairs. Um, we don't have lending and borrowing. We don't have one need, as I mentioned, for the MEX token. It's like, I like this is why it's so annoying, and it's honestly so discouraging whenever people attack me on Twitter. And sorry to get all personal with you here, but it's like I am going to argue for my point, and I'm going to do it with vigor, because I believe that xMEX is an intelligent solution to the DEX economic model issue. And not only is it a solution that MultiversX came up with, but it is the xMEX is the solution that MultiversX has decided to use for their DEX. So uh, they're not gonna let it fail. Like, they just won't. I mean, I don't believe that it has failed. I mean, it has almost $30 million of total value locked, and it's like, yo, like, all xExchange needs to do is facilitate swaps. xExchange doesn't is not successful when the MEX token starts to grow in price against EGLD. The inflation of the token leads me to believe that that's not going to happen for a long time. And I guess, again, while we're here on this completely disorganized video, I guess I just want to just bring up to you all the idea that since MEX is paired with EGLD, in the event that EGLD grows in price, the MEX token will as well. So you can see over here on the left or right hand panel, I have some of these tokens that I keep on my kind of my watch list. So altogether, the US dollar value of EGLD really needs to grow. And then once EGLD starts to grow, once the sell pressure of locked MEX starts to ease, and as more use case starts to get added to the MEX token, yeah, that's when I will be more vocal about perhaps MEX is a quality investment medium, which I have not argued. Like, I've not argued that. So that's again why I'm so annoyed whenever people are like, I hope you're right about MEX. It's like, I am objective about MEX. Like, I realize the path that it's taken. I realize how far it's fallen, but at this point, I am right about MEX again because I'm literally just sharing what I've learned about it. These are just objective facts, and I'm trying to encapsulate it or just package it. Basically, all I'm trying to do is just package it in such a way that educates people, that allows them to be aware of what, like, if MEX will ever grow in value, why it might grow in value, and if people start to see MEX as a valuable token, um, I like to think that it's because people like me spent the time to educate people on why that is. So I'm not saying buy it now per se. I am saying that if you want to boost your LP, if you want to start earning meta bonding rewards, if you want to start using it, there's value there. Not everybody is going to see that value, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're going to FUD, if you're going to talk shit on the team, if you're going to mock the team, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna let you do that. Like, people are like, "Oh, you're picking on people on Twitter and telling them that they're wrong." It's like, no, I haven't told anybody that their opinions about MEX are wrong. That might be true, actually, or that might be wrong. I'm sure that I have, in the case that people have expressed opinions about MEX that are wrong. But again, people attribute a price, a falling chart, to a lack of value. And it's like, well, who's to say that? Because the people that are earning the most xMEX are liquidity providers. Liquidity providers are interested in money. So just because they might see the value of selling off their xMEX and using and capturing that e-gold, it's not so much that they don't see value in MEX. It could just be that they see more value in other places. There's more to be said about that, but we are nearing an hour-long video. How did it happen? I don't know how my voice is still going. I thought my voice was going to die. Um, but to be honest, this kind of sucks because it's so unorganized. I'm just gonna have to drop this video and hope that everybody likes it. I'll do my best to watch through it and add some chapters. Um, but going back to the topic at hand, just the idea of EGLD has not performed so well over the bear market. I think a lot of that has to do, in fact, with the xMEX and the liquidity opportunity provided through xExchange. Zooming out on a large time frame, we all know that whenever the xExchange launched back in November of 2021, I mean, that was right here. Um, so we had this huge area of kind of consolidation here, which spanned a few months. But whenever xExchange launched in November, I mean, price was at I'm not. This is not the U.S. dollar chart, but price jumped 80% in value, and then MEX jumped even more value than that. So we had people, buying EGLD above $500, and it's just, I'm sorry that you bought at the wrong time, but it's just the fact. Um, and hopefully you have been dollar cost averaging to decrease the value of the cost of your position. Let's go ahead and bring up the MACD, which is moving average convergence divergence. I think this is a very keen look at the long-term view of EGLD. It's been brutal. Like, this sell-off period has been brutal. So I think that my hypothesis is that the EGLD to Bitcoin chart that we have in front of us here is going to reverse, and that's going to have positive implications both on the US dollar value of MEX, but I do also foresee the chance that in the case that MEX increases some utility, as well as those locked MEX unlocks continue to ease. I think it's a matter of time before the MEX token starts to reverse. Um, who knows how long that will take, but that's what I think. And I think that because I'm bullish on EGLD and I'm bullish on Bitcoin. So I just want to make that clear once more. So yeah, I mean, just like considering the chart of EGLD against Bitcoin, I mean, look at this trend that was developed in the previous kind of bull run of EGLD, of all these wicks to the upside. You know, these indicate demand. All of these wicks are indicating demand, um, and that's a clear indication. So we obviously saw this retrace, um, but I mean, I think in hindsight, this is all really just going to excuse me. This is all really just going to wash out as just a big bear. I'm sorry, a big bull flag. Um, I think that we're all, if you're watching this video, especially now an hour long, you know that EGLD is valuable and MultiversX is building something pretty powerful. So I think that if you're in the ecosystem, you're in a good spot. So I think that even though this is so disorganized video, I think that I will kind of end off the way that I wanted to, which is just talking about xExchange and the MEX token. We can see in this post that I made, I already mentioned it a few times, but some people are talking about how Technology Poet here, I'm worried about a total value locked and transaction volume. So transaction volume is a conversation for another day, but total value locked, I mean, like, I don't know why people are saying, oh, the total value locked is going down. It's like, I think that this creates the improper image that people are taking their liquidity off of xExchange. Though that might be the case, um, I think that you can see, I mean, like, this is more or less the same look of the MEX chart. And we know, you know, the total value locked has to do with that MEX EGLD pool. So in a world where the MEX price is going down, so will the total value locked, because those underlying assets are becoming less, not less valuable. I don't want to use the word valuable because I think that distorts the image. Rather, just the price is going down. The price is going down, so therefore, of course, total value locked is going to be affected by that. Um, so I think it's too early to say altogether. I'm bullish, but at this point, I totally understand why people just discount what I have to say, because I clearly have a larger position in xMEX. Um, but that's okay, because I know I'm very confident in the long run that this is all just going to be a silly season. You know, this entire bear market will just be looked at and laughed at. You know, any time we got at each other's throats or got upset with anybody, it's just going to be wiped away, because the market is going to become healthier. As I mentioned in previous videos, the bear market over the past 500 days has weeded out a lot of nasty players. And that, I think, is just net positive. I don't think that there's any way around that. It's net positive that these bad players got weeded out of the market, so that in the future it can actually grow, and do so in a healthy way. And that also plays into the negative mentality of the MEX token, is that people genuinely think that it was a scam. So it's just like, gee whiz. I realize the battle that I wage, and I really need to do better about ignoring certain FUD. So I guess, you know, the other day, yesterday, I did get into it with Vanessa, because I saw her quote tweeting somebody spreading the MEX chart going down in value. So I mean, we talked about it, and I see why she was posting it. She did not perhaps realize that you know, this person, they were tweeting something just to get a rise out of me. Um, I'm trying to find the tweet. Apparently, Vanessa tweets a lot as well. So Vanessa just left it at this: MEX as a first class citizen illustrated, and then posted this chart of this guy just basically talking about how bad the MEX to EGLD chart has been. And I think that that's fair. You know, you're just posting data and it's objective. But the fact that this person here, I know for a fact, they oftentimes they're blocked, as you can see. I'm okay with that. Being that they're blocked. Um, but I just felt that this was mocking Benjamin and the team. And I mean, if you scroll down to this, you can see that people even had they commented on this post like, "LOL, I got blocked by the team for saying basically the same exact statement." So I think it's almost irrefutable that claiming MEX is a first class citizen paired with this chart, like, I love you, Vanessa, and I know that we came to an agreement, but can you really not see how that is a little bit disrespectful of the team? I mean, I still hold to that. And again, this just goes to the idea that I see what Benjamin and the team are making at MultiversX. I see the value, the future world that can be created in a place where blockchain is utilized and adopted, and especially where a layer one like eGold is actually scalable and secure. And then beyond that, it's like, okay, we have eGold checking that box, and then they made xMEX and the xExchange. So it's just like, I'm bullish on it. It's like the future is decentralized. The future is permissionless and self-custodying your assets. So I'm just bullish altogether. Um, in case I haven't ever said that before, now you know. LOL. But yeah, so I think that this was honestly a low blow, especially to quote tweet this person who, I mean, to me, what is the difference between FUD, which, you know, fear, uncertainty, and distrust? What is the difference between FUD and just sharing data? It's like, I mean, I think it's a little bit subjective. I think that this, in order to be FUD, or rather, in order to avoid being FUD, I think that it needs to be done with the intention to seek conclusions, to ask questions. But I think all this really did was depict MEX as a broken asset. And more importantly, I mean, I think that the reason I didn't like this was just because it just encourages this culture where people are just talking shit on MEX. And when people talk shit on MEX, they're questioning the future of xExchange. And I mean, this all coils back around to who designed MEX and who built xExchange. So whenever you talk shit on MEX, like naturally, I feel as though you're discrediting the team of MultiversX. So it's like, pick a side. Like, are you a supporter or are you not a supporter? And yes, people criticize me for you know, talking about MEX too often, but it's like, yo, like literally unfollow me. Like, I'm here trying to help people out. I'm not here to give you the material that you think you know, that you want to read. It's like, I'm here to help out. And I've shared before that I believe that the biggest opportunity for education within Multiverse X is, in fact, with the MEX token. And that's why I spend this time talking about this. And I'm not going to tiptoe around some of these points, like this video talking about the negatives in this, and then in this as well. You know, talking about some of the problems of the token itself. um so there's just, you know, many sides to this, but whenever it comes to using text, odds are I'm going to be kind of short and concise and pretty blunt with how I feel, because I just don't really have a lot of patience. Like, I spend hours making all these threads, educating people and helping people to understand how MEX fits into the equation. So it's like, yo, like, you can't, you should, and I should be better. But I spend hours making threads that talk about and educate people, help people answer the question: is MEX valuable? Might xMEX be demanded in the future? And it's like, I mean, this is kind of the argument. It's like, yeah, like, I think that there's a lot of future for the coin. um and it's like, I'm not going to spend time being nice and gentle when it's like, yo, just like read my posts. And then beyond that, just, you know, read the website, read the xExchange paper, and you'll see that this isn't a matter of being right or wrong. This is a matter of does xMEX have some utilities within the ecosystem? And the answer is just, it's just yes. It's not maybe. The answer is yes. Some people might say that they don't see enough value, or that there's not enough value to incentivize people to buy the token, or to hold the token for those people that are receiving it as rewards. But it's like, I mean, people are free to do with it what they will. But overall, there is, I think, a very prominent value proposition for the MEX token, and just emphasizing that it really just takes one proper placement of the of MEX token, or one proper demand for xMEX energy, to give MEX the demand that it wants, the demand rather that people want. Because truth is, the price of the MEX falling does not affect me. Everybody who owns xMEX, we get our income, rather our passive income, from the meta bonding and through the fees. So it's like, not neither one of those are dependent on the price of MEX. So it's so tiring whenever people try to shame me for like, oh my god, you're underwater with your MEX position. It's like, yo, like my MEX is locked forever. Yes, I have unrealized losses, but the way I see it, MEX right now has a lot of zeros in it at the bottom of the bear market. So in the future, in a world where where Bitcoin is growing, EGLD is growing, and MEX is growing in USD value, it's like, well, if I want to sell any of that principal base amount of xMEX, I could do that, and I will lose 80% given the discharge, according to the tokenomics. But that is probably not something that I'll ever need to do. Reason being, at that point, A, I have liquidity that I can take profits from. B, I have weekly meta bonding and volume rewards that I can take profits of. So the only reason Steven will ever sell off any of his MEX, there might be a future where I actually do say, okay, I've recharged my xMEX long enough. I'm gonna go ahead and continue to just, recharge it. Or maybe sometime there will be a day that I really just start to let that xMEX discharge, and then at the end of 4 years, maybe it'll be at 100% of its value. But that's just like, that's a non-situation for me. The truth is that xMEX is my emergency fund. If you don't know what an emergency fund is, it's basically 3, 6, 9, up to 12 months of liquidity for you to hold in a bank in case you lose your job or something like that. It's basically there to cover short-term expenses. So even if I was to, right this moment, sell all of my xMEX, take a 80% discharging fee, I would still have multiple tens of thousands of dollars to play around with. So that's like an emergency fund for me. It's like a very worst case scenario. But above my xMEX energy, I have liquidity. I have positions in Zoid Pay ecosystem as well. I have NFTs. Like, I've diversified my portfolio, and even though the market overall has fallen a great deal, it's very hard for me to sometimes remember, like, okay, Steven, like, where were you at the peak of the bull run? Like, at the peak of the bull run, like, money was not, the price of these assets was not relevant, because there was so much liquidity floating around, prices were so high. It was a really great time. So on the complete other side of that, obviously we feel the opposite way. In the bull market, you feel very intelligent. In the bear market, you question the decisions that you've made, not even just recently, but over the past years. It's like, oh my gosh, like, this thing that I did and where I am now, it's like, oh, I'm having these questions. Like, that's just the nature of bear markets. Bear markets are not just the price is trending downwards. Like, no, the bear market is a season of mentality where, yes, the price is going down, but people are basically being tested on their lives. What decisions have they made? Have they practiced risk management? in their portfolio and so forth. Like that's what a bear market is. It's a season of time where people are tested and the market asks you, did you do, like, are you good? Like, did you do well? Can you survive? Can you stay afloat in order to, see the other side of the bear market, which is the renewal of a new bull market? So, I mean, after all these days, the fact that I'm still doing okay is really great. I'm happy to see that. And I knew that this time would come. When I was building my position in 2019 to 2020, which I mean, it started in 2017, but EGLD really started in 2019. It's like I just knew that there would be a time in the future that my position, my mentality is retested. And here we are. It came as a surprise, but I knew that it would come, and I knew that it would come, and the fact that we're here right now, I knew that this time would be the real test, as it always is. The test is not can you build your position. The test partly includes do you take profits, selling into that strength. And so the test comes whenever the price goes down, whenever prices start to lose their value. That's when you really start to question, like, all right, did I manage my risk well? Did I manage this portfolio well? So far, so good. So as the market moves forward, I'm definitely going to continue to keep tabs on my own process and yeah, just try to continue to just be observant of the market. So closing out today, I'm just going to bring up the MEX chart. I do apologize for how unorganized this video has been, but I just want to bring up the MEX to EGLD chart. So this is not the US dollar chart. This is arguably the more important chart to take a look at when it comes to gauging what the heck MEX is doing. MEX can only really be swapped for EGLD. That's where the emissions are kind of digested. And as we can see, like this was the MEX launch, huge volatility. And then basically, I mean, these are just emissions. These are emissions that we're digesting here. So I have a few different indicators. You've seen me use the Bollinger Bands before. And then the MACD, and then this one at the very bottom, BBW. This is the Bollinger Band's width. So again, that's the length, the distance rather, between these bands. Whenever they're, as you can see here, at the lowest, going up to the chart, that's where they were pinching. So we can see in the MEX to EGLD chart back in November, whenever locked MEX began unlocking a year after the MEX launched, that's whenever we really started to see the price continue to fall here. We saw those Bollinger Bands started to condense around the emissions that were falling through liquid emissions on bootstrapping, but then those locked MEX unlocks started in November, and they've been consistent every month. So I think that just with that being said, it's important to look at these longer time frames, because while the trajectory of MEX is still in a downward direction, we can see that the MACD is actually showing some bullish momentum here. It's not to be depended on. We need to see real volume come in. We need to see real price start to reverse before you call it a reversal. But what I can see, and I think that it's a little bit too easy to say it, because these locked MEX unlocks, as you can see, each of these big candles that have taken place over the past couple months, those are the big locked MEX unlocks. And I don't have any problem with those. I mean, like, these are all proof that xExchange was successful in bootstrapping, and people are right to take their money out of the equation. So, and again, my xMEX is locked for 4 years, so I don't really have, like, this doesn't really impact me. It doesn't affect me at all. And just kind of the emphasis here is just kind of observing as each of these locked MEX schedules pass. The MACD, moving average convergence divergence, this is a momentum indicator Um, and you can see that the momentum of the selling volume, that's been the trend. The momentum of the selling volume is starting to ease. Again, I mean, that doesn't mean too much until we actually start to see a price reverse, but I would say that it's simply a good start. And then on just a much broader time frame, um, whenever we see the Bollinger Band start to pinch again, that means that the price is coming to a closer average. So as these unlocks continue to force the price down lower, we actually see, as indicated as well by the Bollinger Band's width, that prices, even though price is going down, it's still trending downwards. We finally see an idea of a bottom starting to form. So that's great to see. Again, it doesn't really affect me. I already have my position in xMEX, and I've already been deriving value from it over the past several months. Not several, but I mean 4 or 5 months. So, I mean, I don't really know what to say. Like, people are welcome to unlock. People are welcome to, see the value, to not see the value. Um, but whenever you post on Twitter that xMEX has failed, and that and that it doesn't have any value and it doesn't have any use, I mean, I'm going to step into that ring and argue with you. And I don't like to use the word argue. And I really feel like I only use the word argue because, with all like, actually no respect, like, some people are just so hard-headed. And I think that that's just because of many things that I've mentioned in this video. But people don't see the value of xMEX. People lost a lot of money in MEX. And Multiverse X altogether is still not being adopted. Is really not much closer to, excuse me, my nose, is not much closer to onboarding the next billion. So Benjamin and the team are extremely confident. So I'm very curious to see, in 5, 10 years time, looking back at this era of our lives, how it will all feel. Will we have a better perspective, better idea of, excuse me, why Benjamin and the team were so bullish? I think so. I think that that will be the case. But I guess it's just really challenging right now because at this point there is a lot of what feels like blind faith. And not to say that previous success has any indication of future success, but all I know is that buying high quality sound assets is going to set you in a good trajectory whenever the bull market comes back around. So I'm using my xMEX. It has that baseline value that I continue to recharge every at the end of every month. You can recharge it up to 4 years again, and I'm doing that, and that's boosting my positions on xExchange. So this episode kind of turned into a MEX episode, a MEX Mexipode. I don't know about that, but um, thank you very much for watching. Again, please just let me know what you like from these videos. Engage in conversation. Share these videos online. Share your thoughts because, yeah, on Twitter, people see me sharing my beliefs very firmly, and they see that I have multiple thousand followers. But it's like, yo, like, I'm just Steven. Like, I try to treat people all the same, and more specifically, like, I tweeted the same way when I was at 300 followers. So, like, if you have problems with me, what, I'm not going to change. I'm going to do my best to improve, but some of the things that make me me, I'm not going to change. I'm passionate, I'm excited, I'm determined. And when it comes to what I see Multiverse X building, I see the power of Web3. It's like, no, like, now is the best time to be positioning yourself, as I mentioned earlier in the video, positioning yourself to rise with this rising tide in the world of Web3 adoption. So it's like, don't, I mean, I just don't think that it's worthwhile to nitpick on on look at all these prices that have gone down. It's like, yeah, thanks. Like, welcome to the bear market. It's like, it's really not an original idea. I mean, congrats if you're able to trade it, but that's just not the game that I like to play. I like to maintain exposure as much as I can so that if and when the bull market returns, I will have a maximum position exposed to that growth. You know, if I'm trading, if I'm moving money out and then putting it back in, and then I miss a move, you know, it's like, just mentally speaking, that just starts this process that's very negative, very unhealthy, where you're chasing moves, where you're exposing yourself to getting shaken out of position. Like, I want to just forget about all of that. I just want to chill. And that's, you know, again, ties into the value that I have of xMEX, is it's locked. If I ever want to take profits from MEX, I have to remove the discharge. And at these prices, I mean, it's just like a non-option for me. It's not so much a non-option as much as it is just a very poor decision, which relies, points back to the idea, the fundamental value or fundamental principles of trading, of just selling into strength, buying into weakness. Like, if I'm ever going to sell MEX, like, I'm gonna sell it into strength. I didn't come all this way to sell into weakness. And I've been saying that to myself for years. So here we are, almost at an hour and 30 minutes. I've more or less been talking for an hour and 30 minutes straight nonstop. But this video did take a little bit longer than I expected to come out. I was really just waiting for some things within the market to materialize. But even today, as I bring you this video a week since last video, um you know, Bitcoin is starting to move upwards, but we really don't have this dagger. You know, I want a dagger. I want a bullish dagger to hit the markets. I want to open up those charts and I want to see plus 30%, plus 40, plus over 50% in altcoins. Like, that's what the dagger is that I'm looking for. In the meantime, I wish everybody the best of luck in their trading and investing endeavors. Please let me know. Please share anything from this video that was helpful for you. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Economistic out of here. Peace out.